Hey guys, in this video, we're going to go over what Charleston has been going through as a whole in July and what we have been experiencing as real estate agents on the field and as well as what the data is showing. So if you have any questions, drop a comment or you can just reach us out at one of our Instagrams or send us over an email. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, how are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm glad we're doing
So
it. It's been a couple months.
I know it has been a couple of months. I'm really excited to get back to it. I feel like a lot of people are kind of curious what the market's doing. And in my conversations, a lot of people think that the market is one way and we have to show them all the data and, you know, show them that it's actually one other way.
Mhm.
We've been having a lot of difficult conversations with sellers and we've been having some conversations with our buyers and letting, like, I think expectations of how soon we should go look at houses in the research phase.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to go through that. Is there anything that you want to start with?
We can start with, well, it's the first of the month, so we just got
Yep.
all of our July numbers. I love the first of the month, just hopping on MLS and checking everything out. One thing that I found particularly interesting when I was going through everything, and we're noticing it a lot in the field right now too, is percent of original price.
Yeah.
So basically, the amount that sellers are getting for their home when they list it. So um, we noticed just on our back end with our listings that there's a lot more negotiations going on with buyers. And we've been noticing this for a couple months now, but it's really become more significant lately.
Mhm.
And a lot of this has to do with affordability still, of course. We did see a little bit of a drop with rates, but they're still relatively high, and
Yeah.
homes are very expensive still. So we did see in Mount Pleasant and Somerville, our percent of original price drop to about 96%, which is the lowest it's been in the summertime since 2014 or 15. It's been 9 years since we've
Yeah.
seen this low in the summertime, which is crazy to me. I was going back, and there are a couple Januaries and Decembers that we've seen 96%, which is somewhat to be expected. But to
Yeah.
see a 96% in the summertime is, kind of rare for our area. So I thought it was very interesting to see.
Yeah. I was actually having this conversation with a seller. To me, I think that it's been getting very hard to price homes and that we're seeing that whole 95, 96% because of the way that we are pricing homes right now. Of course, with the absorption rate, we have a lot of competition now. There's a lot of standing inventory, but also I think that people are having a hard time doing a listing price, and then having that conversation with their clients and like, oh yeah, I know that your neighbor just sold for $1.5 million, but your home is worth X. And
Mhm.
those are difficult conversations that we have to have. And I don't think that we're used to having those conversations anymore. It's a muscle that we haven't used in a long time. But what do you think about like why is that negotiating happening?
Um, well, really quick, I think a lot of why it's so difficult for sellers is to come down a little bit in prices because we're still coming off COVID. And for a while, we could just list the house and it would sell. So we were just talking about that before the phone call about 2 years ago. Things were so much faster and hotter than they are now. And so many sellers gained so much equity in that time. And now they're thinking, I can still price, it's still going up. My value is still going up. And it's not going down, but it's just not at that same rate. And I think a lot of people are still just getting used to a more normal market. And it's hard to adjust to that.
I think it's really hard for people too because they think that because they bought a house 2 years ago that their home price has increased by
Right.
45%. And I'm like,
Because
no,
that's what
we
happened during COVID.
Yeah, and that's not happening anymore. You're not supposed to, it's not normal to buy a house and be able to sell it in 2 years for a huge profit. It's not normal.
Right.
That is
Right.
not a healthy market. And that is why we are in this situation to begin with, is because that was happening.
Mhm.
Um, but homes are appreciating at about 5%,
Mhm.
8%. Some places in Charleston, we're seeing like, 12 to 15 if it's like a more booming area, but it also wasn't increasing at 45% 2 years ago. So,
Right. Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just a very different market. And this month, especially with my listings, I've noticed having just, like you said, much different conversations. And we say it all the time, the market seems to be changing right now, almost like week by week. We have to stay like so updated with things, because it really is just evolving very, very quickly. So
Yeah. The conversation that I'm having a lot is like, hey, I know that you're planning on selling in 2 years or two months. The things I'm about to tell you are going to be very irrelevant, and we're going to have
right.
this conversation again
Mhm.
because the market is doing this. But what I have noticed is that every single week it's different, and that we have to be paying attention. That I mean, we study the market every Monday. We
Mhm.
have to because we have all these listings, and we have to let them know what is going on.
Mhm.
So we are seeing like, okay, like yeah, last week things are selling really quickly, but now like the average days on market's becoming higher and higher. But we were talking earlier about buyers and how showings have increased a ton.
Yeah.
And
That's
I,
been like the most confusing thing I think for my sellers is like
yeah,
my house isn't moving, nothing's selling, but we're still getting 10 showings a week. Like
yeah,
what's going on? And kind of like we were saying, like I think we're going back to that era of like buyers being in a longer research phase and just really taking their time. They're going to be paying a lot monthly for this house, so they're being very careful and just a little bit more particular about things. But it's confusing for sellers again because we're coming off COVID. Everyone
mm-hmm.
was very competitive, right? So it's just a totally different situation now.
It's so frustrating for them too, and I completely get it. It's like, well, then get out of my house. Like, if
Right,
you're in the research phase and you're not planning on buying for 1 to 2 years, then get out of my house. Like,
right. I get it. Yeah,
yeah, but this is something that we were doing in 2017, 18, 19 is that you'd come to town, which is, it's so weird to think now. But like, yeah, you fly to town, see if you even like Charleston. You go and tour 20 homes, and you're not planning on writing an offer because you're just learning the area. So
right.
I'm getting that a lot. It's like, we're learning the area, we're learning the area. Like, motivation level is a zero.
Right.
Do you think that the people that are doing that, do you think that they are really like on the sidelines? Like, they're saying that they're at 1 to 2 years out because they're in the research phase, but do you think that they're researching because they're on the sidelines waiting for the interest rates to drop?
Some of them, I think. I think people have been saying for so long now that interest rates are going to drop, and it's not I mean, it's happened again a little bit, but not a significant amount. So I think it's less of that now. More people have realized that, like, rates are probably going to stay where they're at. If they do dip down, it's not going to be crazy significant. We're not going to see 3% again, things like that. So I think more of those people are getting phased out, but I do think that a lot of those people are being pushed towards renting, which, is what it is. But I don't think we're seeing as many people expecting rates to come down as we were maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that people are getting pushed to get to rent instead. So I've read two different articles in the last month about how Charleston is one of the most affordable places to rent, which I think is bizarre because I don't like. Then what is everyone else's rent doing?
Right.
Because
I
we are a very expensive city.
I I saw that same thing. I think I saw it on Instagram, and then I read the article, but I don't understand. Maybe compared to other like bigger cities, maybe like New
Yeah,
York, LA, Chicago, things like that. Of course, we're gonna be more affordable. But for like the majority of the U.S., I think we're very expensive. I'm also coming from like a small town,
yeah,
but I don't know. I mean, everyone that I talk to that's renting, every time their lease is up, they're looking to get out of that rental and into a cheaper one, like every time because their rent has increased again. So um, I don't know. I don't think we're very affordable renting wise, but I think the cost of homes here are kind of expensive too. So housing is just expensive right now. Just
yeah.
thanks, but
Something I was looking at recently is that rental prices are dropping. So we did get all gun ho and exciting. I'm not sure if you can hear the landscaper that finally decided to come over to my house. He is 6 days late, but as we're recording this, this is when he wants to go look, mow my lawn. Thank you so much.
I can't really hear
Uh,
it.
Good. But I've noticed that rates during COVID, rental rates have gone up so much. Like you
Mhm.
could just say 9,000 is only like sold because it was just people coming to town. But now I'm seeing a lot of the month to month executive fully furnished rentals sitting on the market, which I'm like, just pull that furniture out and just rent it. Like you're just sitting there. And that a lot of like apartments and stuff like that are going down like $500, $800 a month to get
Wow.
people in. Yeah. So
Yeah.
because they are choosing the cheaper places. Now all these places are like, wait, no, like we are at like 75% capacity. We need people to come in. So
Right.
something interesting.
Yeah.
Don't rent, guys. Buy a house, but
Right. Right.
um, let's talk about the absorption rate. So the month supply of homes, because I find that so interesting.
Hmm.
And you can shoot us off on that.
Yeah, yeah. So I checked that this morning. I was looking specifically at West Ashley and Somerville, but I checked Mount Pleasant right before this call too. It looks like we're just over about 2 months for our absorption rate, which again is much higher than we're used to seeing. A lot more inventory, or just less buyer demand, I guess, is what we're seeing right now with that higher number. But it's still not crazy high. You know what I mean? It's just so much more than we're used to.
Yeah. Well, I thought was crazy because I was just doing a video sending to my sellers because they wanted 925 and I wanted them to list at 880. So I, went through all of that and showed them the month supply, the absorption rate, and explained to them that though there was only 61 homes for sale, that there is still 2.2 months worth of inventory, and that
Hmm.
just typically, if 2.2 months worth of inventory, you would see a higher
Hmm.
listings. But it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that there's all of this standing inventory. It just means that, yes, we have standing inventory, but the buyer demand has gone down
Right.
so much.
Right.
And I really think it's because buyers are dragging their feet these days. They are working us to death. On August 5th, they're going to have to
Yeah.
sign that commission.
I know.
Um, yeah, which I think is so funny that it's happening right now, that now we have all these changes going on and buyers are also just working us to death, making us look at all these houses.
Yeah, it's all definitely coming to a head like all at the same time. And I think the next few months will be very telling because our job is becoming just so much harder month to month. And I think more and more realtors are going to end up leaving the industry,
Mhm.
um, especially those that really focused on buyers in the past. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. But I think, yeah, like you said, the absorption rate going up is definitely super interesting and telling just of how our
Yeah,
market is doing. Yeah.
it's so funny because like 2 months worth of inventory.
Yeah. And
In
it's not a lot. Like it's
Not
not.
a lot. Like
Yeah.
in 2019, sellers were getting about 97 to 98% of their asking price, and the absorption rate was 4 to 5 months worth of inventory, which is
Right.
almost a neutral market.
Right.
So
And
it's
it's
just
crazy coming from, 0.8 months to 2 months and how that feels so much like a buyer's market, but it's not.
it's
You
not.
know, it's
Yeah,
just so much different than what we're used to.
yeah. I mean, it's just a phase in the real estate market too.
Right.
Like it is still a very healthy real estate market. We
Hmm.
just have to have all these conversations with people that know, like, it is not like a buyer's world, but buyers are getting a lot right now.
They are, but I think that's a good point in that like we are actually entering a healthier market right now. It seems really nasty just because it's so many changes all at once, but this is more of how it's supposed to be. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So yeah, I totally agree.
Like you have to, it's just like selling your car. Like if your car is worth $30,000, you can't list it for 40. Like
Right.
you, and also I do this all the time. Like when you want to go and trade in your car, are you going to go show up with like empty water bottles?
Right.
It's trash. Like there's like a used lollipop like in the back seat, or are you going to go get it detailed and like spend some money
Right.
getting it looking right?
Yeah.
I see people who
Listing prep is
fail with,
huge.
yeah. I see people with like Q-tips cleaning their car, but then when you want to sell the biggest asset, you're just like, you want me to paint it? No. Like, so I mean, if you want your house to sell, one, you have to price it correctly. There is no, you know, I heard this great analogy today, and it was from the president of Real, saying that there is two different ways of negotiating, two different ways of pricing a home. Like
Mhm.
when you overprice your house, hope trying to give that room for negotiations, you're actually hurting yourself because you are now saying that let's say it's $1 million. So a buyer is going to go in at 950. You're trying to get a buyer to go up when they're trying to make you go down. If you
Right.
slightly underprice your property, they're going to go up.
Yep.
There isn't them going back down because there's going to be so much more attention. So
Right.
like with that, like pricing your home is very important. That was a little rant of mine. And
No, that's great.
like treat your house like you would treat your car if you're trying to trade it in at Volkswagen. I don't know.
Right. Right.
Uh, like look around. Like what is the car salesman going to look at? What is the buyer going to look at?
Yeah.
We weren't used to that. And a lot of people that are selling, they bought like, 4 or 5 years ago when the market was hot, where they're like, oh no, like it's just lived in. I'm like, no,
Right.
change your
Right.
filters.
It's
We're
just,
gonna,
well, it's again, like buyers are just a lot pickier now. Things are so much more expensive. The
yeah,
market is just changing so much, and sellers just aren't used to that. They aren't used to the market. That's why we're having so many of these tough conversations. So yeah, make sure your drywall is good. Make sure your paint is good. Make sure your home is clean and staged and all of those things. So
yeah,
we're seeing a lot more activity, of course, with the homes that are better taken care of for sure.
yeah. It's making them like, yes, like there's a lot of buyers that are going to see every house, but not these buyers are getting more excited for your house because it is clean, it is priced
Hmm.
correctly.
Hmm.
Uh, Sellers, it's still a great time to sell because if you do set yourself up for success, you will be the one that's winning.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Pricing, marketing, staging. Yeah.
Yeah, all
All the
those
big
things. Like the how we do like the pre-listing emails, letting people know like get ready for this new listing. Let us
right.
know if you want to like get in early. I
Yeah.
mean, we got 5 people that raised their hand like, yeah, I want to get into that listing because they've already seen everything on MLS. It's not
Right.
great, and so we're already creating such a huge buyer demand for
Hmm.
our one listing when we are competing with so many people.
Right. Yeah. Especially like you said with the month supply where it's at and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
I am still seeing, although our percent of original price is down, there are a couple like gem houses that are still going same weekend, same day sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And those houses that are priced well, like just barely below market value, that are staged well and clean, and maybe they did a pre-inspection and all of those things.
Yeah.
Those homes are going really fast still.
Get a pre-inspection if you're going to sell your house. If you
Yes.
don't know what a pre-inspection is, just leave a comment and we will DM you and let you know exactly what you need to do to make sure your house is great.
Yeah.
But you are right. I was talking to my clients today and I was like, if you don't sell in the first 7 days, you're going to sell in 90 days.
Right. It's one or
Like,
the other.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the median sales price right now, or the median days on market is, I think, what, 7 to 9 days, depending on where you are.
Yeah.
And then the average is tricky because the average is taking in all those off market deals, ones that sell in one day. But really, the average days on market, I see it's being 23 days. But if you like make your own and section it off, like days on market's like 80.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at West Ashley today and I saw about 40, which I think is somewhat realistic, but I mean, we talked about it last time we did one of these calls, especially if you're selling in a neighborhood with some new construction and you're
Yeah.
a pre-owned home, you're looking, yeah, 75 days plus probably. And it's just, it's funny how like our market is just all over the place sometimes right now, because like we're saying, like some of those really special homes that are priced well on the market for 2 days. But then you have another house that is great, but you bought it for this amount during COVID or right before COVID. And now we're trying to compete with new construction and you're sitting for 100 days. And I feel like our market is just so dependent on what neighborhood you're in,
Yeah.
what zip code you're in. It's really different, depending on the area still. So,
Yeah. And I don't even think it matters about what neighborhood anymore. Like, yes, new construction, I think being near
yeah.
new construction is huge, but like the most desirable neighborhoods, people think like, oh, I have this like gold mine. I'm like,
Yeah.
you really don't because there's 16 gold mines on the market in your neighborhood right now. Uh,
That's something I'm just seeing that's new in the past like month or two though. Like for
yeah.
a while, I would say in the spring when we were starting to see a little bit of a slowdown with the new construction neighborhoods and things like that, there were still a couple like gold mine neighborhoods that my clients were like, I only want one of these two neighborhoods. I'll do whatever I have to do to get into those neighborhoods. And now I think the sellers in those neighborhoods got a little too cocky
Yeah.
and priced too high. And I'm just seeing that now, within the
Yeah.
past month or so, that those homes are beginning to
It
sit.
was like literally in July.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Just
Well,
that
then
way.
I feel like a lot of people decided to list their homes too.
Right. Yeah. Which is
Um,
weird time, I feel like, to see all these new listings right now. Um, Typically, we see things slow down a little bit right before school starts. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of homes go on the market right now.
And if you're watching this and you're 20 minutes in Charleston, July is so hot. July and August are so hot that typically people go out of town. So a lot of
Hmm.
people come to Charleston to go on vacation, which you should not do that during the summer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like the buyers are usually out of town in July. I mean, I know people that go out of town for the entire month of July.
Hmm.
In August, obviously, school starts. So
Right. Right.
what else should we cover? Charleston County, we did talk about the terms of sales, which I
Hmm.
thought was pretty interesting because we have been talking to some lenders, and you know, FHA typically now is like the way to go because the interest rates are so much lower, but you are going to
Hmm.
have that PMI and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And then we are a military town, so VAs are huge too. But we did see that cash is still only 25%, which it
Mhm.
always is,
Yep.
and conventional loans or 65%. So
Huge. Yeah.
VA is only taking 5%, which hasn't really changed much. So I don't really see like what type of money buyers are using is changing at all.
No, and I think we still are, experiencing buyers with a ton of equity from their past home. Maybe they're renting something in the meantime before they buy the next home. But yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of change. I mean, honestly, with my contracts I get in for my listings, 8 or 9 times out of 10, it's a conventional loan,
Yeah.
from what I'm seeing. So nothing really has changed a whole lot there at all. Speaking of lenders, I had a conversation with a lender today, and he was asking me just how I saw, or I was having, I'm sorry, he asked me how my listings were going and how I'm seeing the market going right now. And one thing that we both kind of agreed on was that so many contracts right now are falling out of contract. It's crazy.
Yes.
So he does business North Carolina, South Carolina, and California. And he was like, it's happening in California, it's happening in North Carolina, South Carolina. He's like, I had 9 contracts in escrow, and 5 of them fell out of contract last week. 4 of which were due to inspection. One other was just like a buyer, financing issue. But so many contracts are just falling apart right now due to inspection, which I think is, again, buyers are being super picky about the homes they're
Yes.
buying because things are so expensive right now. If they're going to be paying, they're used to paying a $2,000 mortgage, let's say, and now they're going to be paying a $4,500 mortgage, which is what we're seeing all the time, people moving into their second homes.
Yeah.
That jump is so dramatic. And if they have to do $40,000 to $50,000 worth of renovations to the house, they're going to move on to something else. They're going to decrease, yeah, what they're looking at. Okay, I'm no longer looking at $1 million home. I'm going to be looking at 800 then, I guess, now. So we're seeing a ton of contracts kind of fall apart right now. A
Yeah.
couple, I don't know. I just think that's really
Keep
interesting.
going.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I find it so interesting because it is so true. And we talk to a lot of real estate agents. We're in a lot of group chats with a lot of real estate agents from all over the place, but definitely our Charleston agents too. And they are falling apart. Like just because you get a house under contract, you better hold your breath because if an outlet is not working, the buyer's like, I'm out. And
Seriously, you can beg and plead with them. Hey, we're gonna fix it. We're gonna give you this amount
they don't
back.
care.
We're just scared, and it's just a different market. It's totally different
Yeah.
now. So
Well, so
that's
there's
why
a
those
lot of things.
pre-inspections are so important.
Yes.
Um,
Pre-inspections and actually do the stuff that's on the
right,
pre-inspection.
right.
And then being able to give someone like a clean inspection, like, hey, like we did all of this work, which I think is so important. But I was thinking when you're talking is that construction costs and like renovation costs has gone up so
Yeah,
much that people don't want to pay for it. And also, I think that it's falling apart when the inspection is going through because various different reasons, but not as many people work from home anymore. A lot of people don't have the time to renovate the house, to paint the
right.
house. Money is very tight. Lemons, I'm not sure if anyone knows, but lemons are $1. And you get one tablespoon of juice
Harley
from.
tells me every day my lemons are $1.
There is no more lemons and limes in here. It's too expensive.
Right.
Like everything's so expensive. Renovations are expensive. Money is getting a lot tighter. unemployment is
Yeah.
getting higher. So people don't want to be spending every single penny that they have to get this house perfect like they used to when they like work was easy. You were working
Mhm.
remote. Your bosses weren't paying attention to you. It's different now.
Yeah,
People
it
are
really
really.
is. It
I
was a
think that
really good conversation. Oh, go ahead.
I just what I was saying is I think that a lot of people are anticipating like what if I do lose my job because we are seeing that a lot. So you're
Yeah,
not going to want to spend all your money, all your savings on these renovations when that could be a possibility for your job.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just the economy is tricky right now. Obviously, we're seeing that reflect in very like different ways that the consumer wouldn't predict in the real estate market. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I just thought it was a super interesting conversation that I had with him today, that it's not just happening here, but it's happening everywhere right now. Um,
I
and
read an article
unfortunately,
somewhere, like I think on like Redfin.com or something, which I know that we don't like Redfin, but they do a lot of studies, and there was a huge fallout
yeah,
of contracts.
yeah. Um, yeah, I just thought it was really interesting. And I've talked with a couple other realtors, whether it be a group chat that we're in or whatever we were just talking about the other day. I feel like everyone has had at least one termination this year. It's crazy.
Yeah, we've had a few. It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even afraid to call agents that have contracts under houses under contract. Like, give me like the deets of like what have you been experiencing. I am
Mhm.
listing a house over here, and I feel like the real estate market we're getting tighter. They're like, I have
Yeah,
no idea who you
totally.
are, but like I want to help you because yeah, like I'll tell you exactly what happened because
Right.
I wish someone told me. So
Right.
I do
Totally. I'm
think that we
experiencing that
are
too.
getting tighter and tighter. Like people aren't afraid to have conversations with agents anymore, and we're gonna have to start getting tighter because of August 5th.
It's getting
So
harder.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. It's a bunch of, it's a big therapy session.
I know. It's like what is happening over yours? Like what's happening at yours? I'm like I don't
Right.
know.
We're all learning together for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean it's forever changing, and if you don't like to get whiplash, then you shouldn't be in this market.
Right. That's
Yeah,
100% true.
don't be any part of home sales or
Right.
home renovations or anything.
Right.
Any last words that if anyone has been watching for the last 27 minutes that we should tell these people?
I would say a lot of this sounds like bad news, but it's not. Like we
Yeah,
said before, just reiterating, this is us entering into a healthy market, but a transition is always going to feel uncomfortable. So it's just a lot of change all at once, but we're seeing things go back to normal, which is what we have been wanting for the past several years now. And I'm really excited about the market personally.
yeah,
Um, the changes that are coming with buyer agency and everything else. So,
yeah.
yeah, I think it's
I
all good.
love that. I like that you said like it's just a transition and transitions are uncomfortable.
They are. Yeah.
Yeah,
And especially like you said, it's happening so quickly, and week to week it's going to be so different. So we might have a listing appointment next week and tell those sellers one thing, and then when we will actually are going to go list the house in a month, it's going to be a totally different conversation.
yeah,
But that's just part of the transition. So
yeah. I mean, there is opportunity for buyers and there's opportunities for sellers. Like we're not saying don't sell your house. We're just saying that the market is different and don't expect like a 5-star experience with these buyers right now.
right.
You also have to give them a 5-star experience. So like,
Right.
yeah,
Everyone needs to cooperate, and yeah, it's good to just be
everyone can
inside.
make money. The buyers can be happy and get into the house they want to, and sellers can still net a ton of money. Home prices are not decreasing, but they
Mhm.
are now becoming very a normal appreciation, and that's good. We need to see that.
Yeah, across the board, I did see average sales price just go up barely,
Slight,
just a little
yeah.
bit. So we're
Right.
not seeing a crash, you
We're
know?
not seeing a crash today. Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
Who
We'll
knows?
keep you updated.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for so much for getting on here with me. I think this was good. I hope that someone found some value in it. And until next month.
Yes, until next month. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll see you later.
Okay, bye.